Hi guys, in today's class we'll be learning how to make a pencil skirt with boat contour. You can see how beautiful this skirt looks on this miniature dress form. You will need the following measurement to draft the skirt. The first measurement is your waist to hip measurement. You measure it like so. You also need your waist to knee measurement, which is going to be our skirt length for today. Then you need your waist circumference measurement. You put a finger in between. Lastly, you'll be measuring your hip circumference. To start drafting the front pattern, we'll mark 1 inch from the top of the paper like so. Connect this point with a straight ruler. This will form the waistline where we start taking our measurement from. Next, we place our tape 1 inch above the waistline and mark our waist to hip measurement. This is because we are going to add band to the skirt. That means the height of our waistband is 1 inch. After marking our hip line like so with our straight ruler, we are going to mark our waist to knee, which is going to be our skirt length for today. You can see I also placed the tape 1 inch above the waistline to mark this. My actual waist to hip measurement is 9 inches, while my actual waist to knee measurement is 23 inches. Feel free to use your own measurement. On the waistline at the center front, we'll be measuring our waist circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch, that's allowance. On the hip line, we will mark our hip circumference divided by 4 and connect to the waistline. After that, we are going to mark down from the hip line 4 inches. 4 inches. The reason why you're seeing 2 here is because it is for the miniature dress form. Okay, so we are going to measure 4 inches down. This line is where we are going to start contouring our pencil skirt. So on the hem line, you are going to mark the same measurement you have on the hip line and you connect with a straight line like so. Next is to contour the front skirt pattern. To do this, we are going to mark from the hem of the skirt 1 inch. You can do 1.5 or even 2 inches and connect to that 4 inches we came down by from the hip line. Connect this point with your curve ruler. To mark the front dart, use your bust band measurement divided by 2. Mark it on the waistline and also on the hip line. Connect with a straight line. I used 5 inches for the dart leg and I mark ½ inch on both sides of the dart leg. This will cater for 1 inch dart allowance that we added to the waist circumference and connect to the dart leg like so. Finally, for the front pattern, we are going to add our seam allowance. In the waistline, I added ½ inch seam allowance. At the side seam, I added 1 inch seam allowance around the side seam of the front skirt pattern and I connected like so. Then on the hemline, I marked 1.5 inch for hem allowance. Make sure you fold the hem allowance in before you cut. This is to avoid shortage when sewing. For the back pattern, go ahead and mark your waistline just like we did for the front. Mark with a straight line, then mark all the vertical lines 1 inch away from the waistline, marking your waist to hip measurement and also your waist to knee measurement, which is the skirt length. Also mark 4 inches down from the hip line. That is where we are going to start contouring our skirt. Mark 1.5 inch in here for zipper allowance and connect with a straight line. This line will form our center back where we start taking our circumference measurements. On the waistline, mark your waist circumference divided by 4 plus that allowance of 1 inch. On the hip line, mark your hip circumference divided by 4 just like we did for the front. On the hem line, mark the same thing you mark on the hip line and connect with a straight line. For the back pattern, we are not going to stitch the dart. We are going to mark the 1 inch dart allowance away from the CB line and we connect it to 5 inches down the CB line. To contour the side seam of the back pattern, mark in ½ inch right there and ¼ inch below the hip and connect it to the hip point. To contour the center back line, mark in ¼ inch at that point and ½ inch at that point. Connect to the hip line with a smooth curve. Use your curve ruler to smoothen out the line. Finally, for the back pattern, we'll be marking out our seam allowance. For the zipper allowance, I'll be using 1½ inch and I'll mark with my ruler like so. On the waistline, I'll be marking ½ inch seam allowance just like you see me doing and I connect with a straight line. At the side seam, I'll be marking 1 inch for the seam allowance and I will also connect it like so. I marked 1½ inch for the hem allowance. We also need to fold the hem allowance in before cutting like we did for the front to avoid shortage when sewing. For the skirt slit at the back, your slit can start from the knee level or you mark 1 to 2 inches up above the knee. Here we have our front and back pattern ready. You can mark all this measurement directly on your fabric. Here you see me putting my pattern on a folded piece of fabric and I'm cutting out my pattern. I'm not adding any seam allowance because that has been done while drafting the pattern. Next is to transfer your dart from the pattern to the fabric like you see me doing here. Also mark your dart intake like so and notch the dart intake. We also be cutting our back pattern on a folded piece of fabric. Cut like you see me doing here. There's no need for us to add sewing allowance again. After you are done cutting, make sure you mark all the necessary points. Here I have my waistband already cut out, 1½ inch on fold, that is 3 inches width. Then I'm going to stitch my front dart and after that I'm going to attach my waistband to the front. Now we also do the same thing for the back of the skirt. Here I'm done stitching the waistband to the front and the back of the skirt. So the next thing is for me to pick my back, place them together, stitch my zipper, and also hem the skirt, and leave allowance for the slit. Finally, I will put the front and back together, right side facing each other, and I will stitch the side seam. And that's all. I hope you'll be giving this a try. We have come to the end of today's class. See you in the next one. Bye.